Welcome to Whisper's Secrets. He said the house was sold. I said, to who? He didn't even have the decency to look me in the eye. He just called while I was at work, voice smug through the phone like he was giving me a weather update. I'm divorcing you. The house is sold. I already signed. I sat there frozen in the break room, my lunch untouched in front of me, his voice echoing in my ear like it belonged to someone else. You what? He chuckled. Sold it. Got a great price. Should have done it months ago. Oh, and pack your stuff, closing's in 2 weeks. He hung up before I could respond. Just like that. No warning. No discussion. No hint. We were married for 12 years. 12. Not perfect but committed. Or so I thought. Our home, the one I helped paint, renovate, decorate, the one where I raised our son, gone. Without my consent. Without my name on the paperwork? But I knew something he didn't. That house wasn't just his. It was ours. And if he thought he could throw me out like garbage, he was in for a lesson he'd never forget. Let me back up. I'm Amanda, 39, high school English teacher, mom to a brilliant 11-year-old named Ryan, and until that call, a wife to a man named Patrick. Patrick was charming, successful, and entirely two-faced. I should have seen it coming. The late nights. The business trips. That didn't line up with his calendar. The sudden password change on our shared laptop. But I ignored it all. For Ryan. For the life we built. Until he burned it down with a phone call. I left work early that day. Drove straight to our realtor, a friend of mine from college. Did Patrick list the house with you? I asked, heart pounding. Her face twisted into a grimace. He contacted someone else, she said. Private firm. Out-of-state buyer. I asked for the name. She gave me a look. You didn't sign anything, right? No. Nothing. She exhaled. Then he can't sell it. You're on the deed. That's when the shift happened. From panic to power. From confusion to clarity. Patrick had overplayed his hand. And I was about to turn the game around. That night I went home. The house looked the same, but it felt different. He wasn't there. Big surprise. I checked the safe. Empty. He'd already taken our marriage certificate, his passport, and, of course, the emergency cash we'd stored over the years. But he forgot something. The title. It was in the filing cabinet in my office under Home Docs. Right where I'd filed it. And my name? First. On. The deed. Patrick couldn't legally sell anything without my signature. I copied every document I had. Took pictures of the safe. Texted my lawyer. Emergency. Divorce. Fraud. Need to meet ASAP. He replied instantly. Come in at 9 a.m. Bring everything. The next morning, I sat across from him, file folder in hand, adrenaline still spiking. He flipped through the paperwork. Raised an eyebrow. Your husband's about to learn how bad it is to try and outmaneuver someone smarter than him. I smiled for the first time in 2 days. Because I had leverage. Legal. Documented. Real. But I wanted more than court. I wanted a lesson. I wanted to watch him realize what he'd lost. So we crafted a plan. Quiet. Strategic. Devastating. While Patrick thought I was packing boxes and crying in the bedroom, I was filing for divorce, freezing joint accounts, changing autopay, and securing a restraining order from altering shared assets. He didn't even notice. He was too busy parading around with his new girlfriend, some tech rep named Lila who worked at the same company. I found out through Instagram. A photo of them at a winery, tagged the same day he told me he was staying late to finalize contracts. Classy. I took a screenshot. Saved it. Evidence. Let him think he'd won. Let him bask in his little fantasy. Because while he was making dinner reservations, I was preparing a financial ambush. A week before closing, Patrick showed up at the house. Smiling. Cocky. Packed yet? Almost. I lied. He nodded, looked around like he already owned the air. It's kind of liberating, isn't it? He said. New beginnings. I nodded slowly. You have no idea. And as he walked out the door, whistling like a man who'd just escaped a prison, I made a call. Hey, I said. Let the buyer know. They'll want to read the fine print before they cut any checks. He thought he closed the deal. I closed the door instead. The buyer's agent was cordial, polite, professional, until he heard what I had to say. I never signed anything, I told him calmly. And I'm a co-owner on the deed. A pause. Excuse me? You heard me. The sale is invalid. I was told this was already finalized. Well, I said, you were lied to. Within 24 hours, the sale collapsed. No contract. No closing. Patrick had tried to sell a house he didn't legally own on his own. And now the buyer wanted answers. The next morning, Patrick stormed into the house like a hurricane. What did you do? I didn't flinch. Corrected your mistake. You killed the deal. You mean the one you made without me? Yeah. I did. He paced in circles, veins bulging in his neck. You don't get it. That money was going to fix everything. Oh, I get it, I said. You were going to vanish. With her. Start fresh. His jaw clenched. I tossed a manila envelope on the coffee table. He glanced down. Photos. Receipts. Screenshots. Instagram posts with Lila. Dinner reservations. Weekend getaways. One photo of him kissing her shoulder while she held a glass of wine, captioned, My forever. His face turned white. You've been spying on me? No, I said. I've been documenting. And now, I'm prosecuting. That same day, my lawyer filed the divorce petition. Irreconcilable differences. With supporting evidence of infidelity, financial fraud, and breach of marital trust. We included the attempted illegal sale, the secret withdrawals from our savings, the third-party credit card charges linked to hotels, spa visits, and jewelry I'd never seen. And the best part? We filed a motion to freeze all joint assets immediately. By the time Patrick got to the bank to withdraw what was left, the accounts were locked. He called me, screaming, I can't even buy gas! Are you serious? As serious as your girlfriend's Botox charges on my card. Click. I changed every password. Called every vendor. Flagged every suspicious transaction. Turns out, Patrick had been slowly siphoning money for almost a year. Tiny withdrawals. Business expenses. A fake Venmo account routing funds to an alias, later confirmed as Lila's middle name. My lawyer brought in a forensic accountant. What we found? Over $28,000 missing. When I confronted him with the report, he had the audacity to laugh. You'll never get that back. We'll see, I said. Court doesn't take kindly to thieves in khakis. I wasn't just taking him to divorce court. I was preparing to pursue civil charges. Meanwhile, Patrick started slipping. He missed deadlines at work. Lila posted less and less about him. One day, she deleted all photos of them together. Then she blocked him. Apparently, a man who's under financial investigation, being sued, and sleeping in his car isn't very attractive. But I didn't gloat. I documented. I built a timeline. Receipts. Communications. Legal letters. Even testimonies from our neighbors, who said they saw strange cars outside the house when I was gone. Sometimes overnight. It painted a picture. A very clear one. Of a man who thought he could abandon his life and keep the perks. Then came the twist. Patrick tried to transfer the car title, our second vehicle, to a friend. I caught it in the DMV records, thanks to a tip from my lawyer. And that's when we filed a restraining order against asset tampering. The judge approved it within 24 hours. He couldn't touch a thing. No cars. No savings. No retirement. Not even the toaster. And that's when he made his biggest mistake. Late one night, while I was upstairs putting Ryan to bed, I heard glass shatter. Downstairs. In the kitchen. I rushed down. And there he was. Patrick. Standing in the middle of the floor. Holding a suitcase. Eyes wild. Voice trembling. "I just want what's mine," he said. But what he didn't know, I'd already called the police. He broke into my kitchen. I let the police handle it. The cops arrived in under 10 minutes. Patrick was still standing in the kitchen, ranting about what was rightfully his. When 2 officers entered through the front door and told him to put the suitcase down, he hesitated, just long enough to make them tense. "Sir, step away from the counter." His eyes locked with mine. "You called them?" I didn't even answer. I just nodded toward Ryan's room upstairs. The officers cuffed him. Read him his rights. He didn't resist. But the whole time, he kept looking back at me like I'd betrayed him. As if I was the one who had broken trust. Broken into a home. He didn't seem to realize that this stopped being his house the day he tried to sell it out from under me. When the cruiser pulled away, I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, heart pounding. I wasn't afraid. I was done. The next morning, I met my lawyer and handed over the police report. "Let's file a motion for temporary full custody," I said. He nodded. "And add property trespassing to the restraining order." It went through in less than a week. Patrick was released on bail, but barred from coming within 100 feet of the house, my work, or Ryan's school. He texted me once. "This is your fault." I saved it. More documentation. By now, the divorce process was well underway. I attended hearings, signed affidavits, submitted banking evidence. My lawyer presented everything like a story with a perfect, ugly ending. Patrick tried to delay. Tried to argue. Tried to blame. But it didn't matter anymore. The paper trail was too clean. The witnesses too credible. The facts too damning. I wasn't just dismantling the marriage. I was rebuilding my future. One motion at a time. I started seeing more clearly how much I had tolerated for years. The gaslighting. The financial control. The emotional silence. It had all been there, like mold under fresh paint. Now it was gone. Scraped. Burned. Removed. Even neighbors started talking. "Didn't know he was capable of that," one said. "He always acted so charming," said another. "Should have guessed something was off when he replaced you in the Christmas photo," a third added. That was cold. Support came from places I never expected. Ryan's teacher emailed me personally, saying she noticed a change. "He seems calmer. Lighter." A friend I hadn't seen since college reached out on social media. I saw what happened. I went through the same thing. You're not alone. I wasn't. I had my job. My son. My lawyer. And my dignity. One day, Ryan came into the kitchen while I was doing the dishes. "Mom," he said, "is Dad coming back?" I dried my hands and knelt beside him. "Why do you ask?" "Because he left his red mug. The one with the mountain on it." I looked up at the shelf. He had. It was still there. Slightly chipped. Still full of silence. "No," I said. "He's not coming back." Ryan nodded slowly. "Okay." And that was it. No tears. No protest. Just acceptance. He hugged me tight and went back to his book. I stared at that mug for a long time. Then took it down, walked it to the trash can, and dropped it in. Let him come collect that if he wants something. But he didn't. Instead, one night my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I opened the message. "I know I messed up. I'm sorry. I don't want to lose everything. Please talk to me." It was from Patrick. From jail. He said, "I'm sorry," from jail. I said, "Too late." I stared at the message for a long time. "Please talk to me." It wasn't anger I felt. It wasn't sadness. It was detachment. Like someone had handed me a letter addressed to the woman I used to be. I could have ignored it. I should have. But I didn't. Instead, I requested a visit. I needed to see it. To hear it. To watch him try, and fail, to explain himself face to face. They buzzed me in. I sat at the metal table, back straight, hands folded, waiting. He entered in an orange jumpsuit, eyes hollow, beard grown in uneven patches. The man who once stood in our home shouting orders now looked like a shell wrapped in regret. He sat down. Said nothing at first. Just stared. Then, "You look good." I didn't reply. He cleared his throat. "I know I hurt you." Still, I said nothing. I was stupid. Selfish. I panicked. I didn't know how to say I was unhappy. I raised an eyebrow. "So you said it by stealing from me? Lying to me? Trying to erase me with a forged sale? I made a mistake." "No," I said coldly. "You made a plan. Then you executed it. Repeatedly. And you got caught." He leaned forward. "I lost everything. That was your choice. I don't want this to be the end. It already is. You can't forgive me?" "No," I said, steady as stone. "Because you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got stopped." He exhaled. Shook his head. I thought we'd have more time." "More time for what?" I asked. "To humiliate me further? To siphon more money? To walk away without consequences?" He looked down at his hands. "I deserve that." I stood up. "You deserve exactly what you built. And I built something too." He glanced up, confused. "I built a case. Evidence. Stability. A future. Without you." I took one last look at the man who used to sleep beside me and couldn't recognize even a flicker of the person I once loved. And then I walked out. Didn't turn around. Didn't give him the power of a last glance. Outside, the wind was warm. Soft. Alive. And I felt it for the first time in a long time, the full stretch of freedom across my shoulders. That afternoon, I took Ryan to the bookstore. We got new notebooks, a few comics, and a soft pretzel that he said was the best one ever. He laughed the whole ride home. I did too. The next morning, I got the notification. The court had ruled. Divorce finalized. Custody granted. Full. To me. Patrick's parental rights weren't revoked, but they were restricted, supervised visits only, upon completion of counseling and debt repayment. I sat on the porch and read every line of the decree twice. It was done. It was real. But I had one more thing to do. He took the house from me. So I took everything else. The courthouse was nearly empty when I signed the final document. The clerk barely looked up as she stamped the page and slid it back to me. "That's it," she said. "You're now the sole legal owner of the property." My hand trembled just slightly as I took the papers. Not from fear. Not even from excitement. But from the release of every ounce of tension I'd carried for over a year. The house was mine. Fully. Irrevocably. Legally. The locks had already been changed. The title had been transferred. The mortgage was refinanced in my name alone. And Patrick? Nowhere in sight. He'd been too busy dealing with debt collection, legal fees, and the fallout from his now terminated job to challenge the ruling. He didn't even show up for the final hearing. The house I almost lost to his lies was now the place I stood my ground. And I was just getting started. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Not handwritten. Typed. Neatly folded. Unmistakably his. It read, "Amanda, I've had a lot of time to think. I know I can't undo what I did, and I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I wanted to say I'm sorry, truly. Not for getting caught. But for ever thinking you were weak. You were the strongest person in the room the whole time. Patrick." I sat with it for a while. Then I shredded it. Because I didn't need an apology to move on. I needed closure. And I already had it. Ryan was thriving. He had his own room, his schoolwork was improving, and he laughed more, real laughter, not the strained kind I used to hear between arguments. I had taken a promotion at work. Started a side business tutoring in the evenings. The same finances Patrick once tried to manipulate were now a tool I used to build something for us. Not for show, not for status, but for stability. I also remodeled the kitchen. New countertops. Brighter cabinets. No more reminders of where he stood when he told me he'd sold our future. That spot now held a potted fern. Soft. Quiet. Alive. People often ask me how I did it. How I didn't fall apart. The truth? I did. But I rebuilt. Piece by piece. Decision by decision. With strategy, with grace, and with fire in my spine. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's walking barefoot through your own home, hearing your child laugh in the other room, and knowing, truly knowing, that no one can take that from you again. The final thing I did? I changed my name back. On paper. On the mailbox. On every bill and bank account. Amanda Blake. Not the woman who got left behind, but the woman who rose. And when I walked into that quiet house, newly painted, with a fresh welcome mat and the smell of lavender drifting through the air, I didn't feel like someone who'd been hurt. I felt like someone who'd won. He said he lost everything. I said not everything. Just me. Daniel looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. His eyes were bloodshot. His suit wrinkled. His pride leaking through the seams. He stood there on the front step like someone who forgot what home was supposed to feel like. Claire, he said. Please. Can we talk? I didn't say anything at first. Just watched him. The way he shifted nervously. The way his fingers twitched like they were still holding on to something. A lie, maybe. Or hope. I lost my job, he added. HR said they're forwarding everything to legal. Still, I stayed quiet. He stepped closer. They're freezing my severance. I don't know what I'm going to do. I raised an eyebrow. You seem to have plans before. His mouth opened, then shut again. I was stupid, he said finally. Arrogant. I thought I could have both. The family. The thrill. His voice cracked. I was wrong. There it was. His confession. Clean. Predictable. Too late. I crossed my arms. Why now? Because everything's gone. I nodded slowly. Exactly. He blinked. I thought you'd at least let you in. I cut in. Feel sorry for you? Hand you tissues while you unpack the consequences you gift wrap for yourself? He flinched. And I stepped outside. Closed the door behind me. I was good to you, Daniel, I said. Loyal. Present. Tired maybe, but never absent. And while you were out treating your insecurity with candlelit betrayals, I was holding this family together. I know, he whispered. No. You don't know. You thought I'd never leave. You thought I'd always be the woman who says, it's okay, just come home. Tears formed in his eyes. Real ones. But I didn't soften. Because those tears? They weren't for me. They were for him. For his fall. His failure. Not my loss. I never meant to hurt you, he mumbled. Intentions don't matter. Actions do. He looked down at the porch, like it could offer him shelter. I took a breath. I filed for divorce, I said. He nodded. I figured. And I'm keeping the house. I know. And custody. Another nod. And you'll reimburse every cent you funneled into your affair. I'll try. You'll do it. I turned to go. But then stopped. I have one more thing. He looked up. I handed him a copy of something I'd prepared just days earlier. A notarized letter. From our financial advisor. confirming that I'd already pulled my name from every shared asset, redirected every auto payment, moved every remaining joint fund into a trust for the kids. His name? Nowhere on it. He read it, stared at it. "I'm broke," he said, like the words just hit him. "No," I said. "You're free. That's what you wanted, isn't it?" He didn't answer, and I walked back inside. Quietly. No slammed doors. No dramatic farewell. Just a soft click behind me. Inside, I exhaled. It wasn't relief. It was release. Over the next week, I packed away the last physical remnants of Daniel. Photos. Jackets. A drawer full of cufflinks he no longer needed. I donated the mug that said, "World's Best Husband." Bought new sheets. Started sleeping better. One evening, Tom sent a message. "Saw Daniel downtown. He looked hollow." "I'm not surprised," I replied. "You okay?" "I'm free." And it was true. I didn't just survive the affair. I flipped it. Turned it inside out. I didn't need revenge in flames or fury. I burned it slowly. Precisely. With clarity. And in the end, Daniel lost his job. His status. His control. Marissa disappeared into the quiet corners of scandal. And me? I got something better than justice. I got me back. A few weeks later, I hosted a dinner. Just close friends. The kids. Laughter in every room. And in the background? My favorite jazz record. The one Daniel said was too slow. I danced in the kitchen as the timer went off. And smiled. Because sometimes the loudest revenge is the life you build after the destruction. The one they never get to be a part of. Thank you for being with us on Whisper's Secrets. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. The secrets are waiting to be revealed. See you soon.